Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff and Gary. And today we're going to talk about the 1984 sci-fi movie, The Last Starfighter. We've been kind of on a sci-fi kick recently.
Well,
I think our whole lives we've been on a sci-fi kick, PJ. Really?
Well, at least as far as podcast goes. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you count Godzilla movies as sci-fi, like every movie we've done this calendar year besides Casablanca has been sci-fi.
Yeah, true.
And
no,
Gary,
Casablanca is very much not sci-fi.
no, and Gary, this one was your choice, so I will ask the eternal question: why this movie?
Why this movie? Okay,
Yeah,
so
why this movie?
I think what happened is last time it kind of got left up in the air because we've got some things in plans, but there was a gap, and this one I was like, okay, I'll make a choice, and I had a few ideas of what to do, but then I think I was perusing YouTube, and the algorithm of YouTube, for whatever reason, that artificial intelligence just actually kind of reads your mind a little bit. And it pulled up a clip of this one. I had not seen Last Starfighter in a few years. I have seen it several times in my life, but I'd not seen it in a few years. And then it showed me this clip, and I'm like, that's a movie I want to revisit, and I want to go back to it. Don't actually have a copy of it, but now that I've re-seen it, I might actually go out and get a copy. That's on the anyways, that's kind of in the Gary's realm of movie likes and dislikes. Gary's going to maybe go get a copy sooner than later. I don't even know if it's in the bargain bin. You might have to find this one on Amazon, like if they even have it for sale anywhere.
I did not go look myself, but I'm sure they do somewhere. It's a well enough known movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, what's your history with The Last Starfighter? I assume you've seen this before. I could be wrong.
No, I've seen it before. My history is this movie is like the ultimate fantasy story for a young kid growing up in the 80s. Like this is what every kid in the 80s desperately wanted in life. And I won't give any details away in this non-spoiler section, but I think it's a good movie. This is a good watch. It's a good feel-good movie, and it's not overly dramatic or it's not really a heavy film to watch. It's kind of just a fun, simple popcorn movie that you can just enjoy. It is very old and retro and features some really wild early computerized special effects, which I appreciate. They've like any old special effects are almost more entertaining to me than something brand new and filled with countless pixels. Like I really love the old stuff because I think people really put a lot of effort into it. And yeah, it's good. It's a good film.
I was surprised by this because I'm rewatching this because I remembered that the special effects were kind of janky, but now as I'm rewatching them, I'm like, that kind of looks like Star Fox almost, and Star Fox came out years later, right? Like, admittedly this is probably bleeding edge technology at the time. And then Star Fox was like made for anybody to play in their front room. So
yeah, a lot of people don't know what Star Fox probably is.
Star Fox
video game
is,
from the 90s.
Yeah. It's a shooter, I guess. From like Jeff said, the 90s, the good old SNES, the old Super Nintendo. So yeah, so my own history with this movie, it's one I have probably seen all the way through at some point or another, but I couldn't really remember. I No, I had seen like the last half more than once. Me and Gary were talking a little bit before we started recording. It's the kind of movie that would end up uh, on cable a lot back when, you know, you watched random movies on cable TV, right? And
It even showed up a lot on broadcast television, just as kind of like a evening show, evening movie, or a Saturday afternoon kind of movie. It would just show up, and then you'd be flipping through the TV, and you'd see this movie on, and you'd catch it halfway through the movie. And you'd be like, "Wow, this is awesome! I'm going to watch this movie." And that's why everybody's seen the last half of this movie so much, and hardly anybody's ever seen the first half of the movie.
so so yeah, to excuse me, to give my my sort of review on it. It's a movie from my childhood, but it's not one I sat down and watched a lot, so it's not one I had like a lot of nostalgia for. But still, for a sci-fi movie of that time period, it's pretty good. It's all right. I don't know if it's something I will say go buy a copy of or anything like that, or go out of my way to watch very often, but it's good. Probably about as good as you remember if you saw it as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of nitpicks about it that I'm sure we'll talk about later on when we start talking spoilers, but by and large, it's all right. I've seen worse.
Sounds like we all recommend it. Even though Gary is probably a much more of a stronger recommendation because it's fitting into his I must own a copy category.
Yes.
Which is one of the highest honors within Gary's levels of enjoying movies.
I believe the last time we heard about Gary's level of recommendations, it was Alien.
Yeah.
And I think Alien did not reach the must own a copy of.
Did not.
So he ranks this higher than
Didn't quite
Alien.
make it.
Yeah.
Sci-fi, I guess, but outside of that, very different movies.
Definitely way different movie. Completely different genre.
Well, same genre.
Well, genre
Widely.
of sci-fi.
Yeah, the Alien is a little more horror.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say,
sci-fi.
yes.
Like,
Not exactly a
like
same.
broad genre, right?
All right, broad genre, yes.
So should we just do like a brief, like non-spoiler synopsis before we get into spoilers, or
Well,
what do you guys think?
Let's just get into spoilers.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna say. I think
Let's
it's an old
dive
enough
in.
movie that if someone is scrolling through the internet comes across us and like, what's this Last Starfighter thing? If we are your first exposure to like any movie we talk about outside of like the odd new one we talk about, I'm sorry.
But and this one is full on, because the movie was made in 1984, so full on 40 years. 40 years old. Gosh,
40
I'm
years
feeling
exactly.
ancient now. But anyways, 40 years old movie. So
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up while Jeff was harping on it. This is such an old movie, blah, 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 the movie that's old, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm over here like, Jeff, this movie is younger than all of us.
not by much, but it is younger.
I feel like Jeff has maybe not quite the same level of, oh crap, I'm old, level of sensitivity as I do.
Yeah, I have an override algorithm that anytime I figure out how much time has passed, it just automatically gets deleted from my short-term memory. It's quite efficient.
Yeah.
So on the off chance anyone decides to take off before we talking spoilers, I guess we'll kind of end the non-spoiler section with, I guess Gary highly recommends it. Jeff recommends it. I kind of recommend it. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different levels. Obviously, BJ, you have some problems with it, and this, for me, I went into watching this movie with nothing but nostalgia tinted glasses. So, I mean, I'll be willing to hear some. I know this is not a work of art, so I'm willing to hear any criticisms. So
Okay. So, anything else non-spoilery folks want to say?
No, let's talk about it.
Okay. So, I'm just gonna get this
Yeah,
one out of the way really quick, so we can go on to the the
yes. Let's start out
the
with the one
nostalgia
thing
love
that,
fest. So,
yeah,
and this might be a critique of like 80 movies in general, but what was with the 80s and having the youngest characters be the one with the dirtiest mouths?
I don't.
all
It's
right,
like,
Goonies is coming
this
to mind.
kid dropped the S word. That's hilarious. Ah ha ha ha.
They yeah, they liked to do that. And where they got that kind of language, I don't know.
I
I'm just
mean,
hoping Wesley didn't pick up too much on it because I was watching it with him.
and again, this is not the only 80s movie that does that. Like, I think there's a couple of S-droms. S-droms? What the heck is a drum? S-bombs dropped in like, what's it called? Uh, crap, what's the movie? The one with the pirate ship and the kids and the town.
Goonies.
Goonies, that's it.
Goonies.
Speaking
yeah,
of, that's what
Goonies.
my son is watching
Goonies
right
has
now.
all over.
Weirdly enough.
If
Speaking of, there's a lot of language in Goonies.
I was gonna say,
I'm
Gary,
kinda
if you were afraid
surprised.
if you're afraid of your kid picking up back language from the Last Starfighter,
I know. And then Gary says he's watching
now
it
he's
right
watching
now.
the Goonies.
Oh. Anyways, so Last Starfighter, kind of basic synopsis. Jeff, you're saying that this is every kid's dream, right? So,
Yeah.
what happens in this that is every kid's dream?
Every kid's dream in the 80s, and perhaps eternally in all time frames, really, but in the 80s, every kid's dream is that they would play a video game about spacecraft and being a starfighter, and yet somehow the game was real. It was attached to some deep and mysterious intergalactic, some sort of intergalactic problem, and that through the game you could actually go into a universe where you're a starfighter and you go and you save the day and you save Earth and you save other planets, and you do it by playing something that's a lot like a video game. It's the ultimate 80s kid fantasy, and that's what this movie is. It's a kid who is someone who feels like he's a nobody, and yet he is brought into this long, big, huge plot. Yeah.
I mean,
And
admittedly, so the protagonist's name is Alex Rogan. He's living in, I don't know what it is. It's like a trailer park.
it's a trailer park, but it's a really tight community trailer park.
Yeah, just this little small. Yeah, out in kind of almost in. It's not even on the edge of town. It's kind of in its own little valley area, sort of.
Sort of middle of nowhere in the desert, and
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a town. The mom goes to town to work, but the town's kind of far away.
Yeah.
It kind of implies that.
And he is just kind of, he does odd jobs around the mobile home community, right? And that's how he makes money. And then his big dream is to get a big loan, I think, to go to a big college so that he can become something better. And then he doesn't achieve that, right?
Now the bank turns him down.
yes, back in the good old days when, well, I don't know how true it is called the good old days. I didn't care about student loans back then, but back in the good old days when you would get declined for a student loan.
Yeah, because they didn't feel like you were like you were the best choice for this because they were really worried about you being able to pay it off. But anyways,
Which a whole different subject there. But hey,
yes, that's a can of worms we're not going to talk about right now.
No.
So,
but he gets turned down for a student loan from a bank.
but this is right after something happens, Jeff. or BJ, whichever wants to answer it. What happened right before he found this out?
Before he found out about a student loan,
Yeah. Did
he
you?
was about to go with his friends to the lake.
No,
and
no. The
have
student
fun?
loan happens right after the big first key event.
The video game record?
Yeah.
No, that
Yeah, that's actually how it happens, Jeff. He
doesn't that happen after?
no,
Doesn't he hear about that news?
No,
and then
no,
later on
he
he plays the video game.
No,
I
he-
thought that was
No.
he's
Yeah,
he's
no,
looking
Gary's
for
right,
it.
because
He's looking for it in the mail, and then he's waiting for it, and then he plays the video game, and he's all happy and high on life, and then his mom brings home the letter, and he's all sad.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, you're right. Yeah.
So
he goes. Yeah. Okay.
he plays this video game, and he breaks the record. He beats the game and apparently it's very difficult. And, small sleepy community, but very tight knit. So him beating it is actually a big event, right?
Yeah. So this community, they rely on Alex a lot, but they're actually a very tight group. And so when they find out that he's beating the game, and this game is one of the big attractions in this community here. And so they all run up to see him. And it's a great scene. He's got lots of support around him. And he's really kind of down before he plays that game. He feels like he's going nowhere and his future is very uncertain. And yet a lot of people need his help. He's not able to play and have fun. He can't go with his friends because he has to go do these odd jobs in the community, and which is a positive thing as he helps people out. But in the midst of being so down about everything, he plays the game, and this is where there's a turning point for him. He is able to beat the high score and even beat the entire game. And his girlfriend is very supportive of him while he plays the video game.
Which is...
Do I maybe feel a little bit of bitterness in there, Jeff?
No. Well, no, okay. So this is unrelated to anything else, but yeah.
I don't think your wife really listens to this, so I'm not too worried about getting you in trouble as compared we talk about Gary's wife, who we know listens to the podcast. She was on it once.
Yes, and actually she loves playing video games with me and challenges me on a regular basis. I don't know, most of our genres of video games are slightly off from each other, so we can't say who's better or who's worse. I don't know that she would be excited for me getting really good at a game like this. Maybe not. I don't know.
It's a very very different time, I guess.
Yes. Very different time. But then again, an actual cabinet arcade game is very different from a home video game too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was gonna say we were kind of live at the tail end of arcades, like.
Oh, they're still alive and well, BJ. I play it on a regular basis with my son. So.
Well, good for you. There's not really one around here outside of a couple of like old. Last time I went to arcade was for another friend's bachelor party.
I remember that. That was fun.
That was when we had the grass juice.
Yes.
Juice grass.
That was not so fun.
No. There is video proof of that, and I am forever thankful for Gary of having a very strong visual reaction to it that drew all of the attention on the video and totally blurs out the fact that I wimped out immediately and bit into the orange slice. They had to kind of replace the bitterness because Gary just reacted so strongly that no one knows that. They just watch Gary.
We're talking about how hard it was to drink grass.
Do you remember what we're talking about?
Somewhat. I just think it's funny. It's like
you were there.
I know, and that's right. Okay, I remember it, but okay.
It's grass juice, Jeff. It tasted terrible. I remember that taste.
It tasted like mowed lawn.
It will
Yes, it
haunt
really
me to
does.
my dying day.
Which is why we drank it. We're like, what's the grossest thing in this town?
Actually,
Aha,
no.
grass juice.
I believe it was the idea of the person whose bachelor party it was,
Yes.
because I don't think it was any of our idea.
Well,
So
As you can tell, folks, we were just, wild and crazy around here. For our bachelor party, we went to an arcade and drank grass.
so steering us
that's
back
why I
on
was laughing.
topic.
Okay. Yeah, let's steer back on topic.
So the actual
I don't even know how
timeline of
we steered
events
off.
being Alex plays video game, gets supported by community, goes home, and his mom has the bad news that he's not getting the bank loan to go to college. And he's sad and dejected, and he goes out to the parking lot in kind of on the edge of the thing. And so this part this is the part I have, now watching as an adult, I have the complete, it just sets off all the alarm bells. Because a guy pulls up and doesn't get out of the car and just opens up a door.
Are you saying that that you would not trust the guy in the space hearse? It looks like a hearse.
He might as well
I
drive
saw that.
up.
I saw the space car. I'm like, I even wrote down my notes. Future car looks like a space hearse.
It does, but he might
It's
as well
the
have...
80s, Gary.
No.
In the 80s, if the car drives up, especially a weird space hearse car, and somebody from inside says, hey, come on in. Come on.
Where there's
In the 80s, you get in the car. That's what you do.
Stranger
Other
danger
decades-
wasn't a thing yet. I mean, this car you might as well have had. I mean, these days they would have just had a giant white panel van with free candy spray painted on the side or something like that.
Have like an ice cream truck or something.
I don't know. It's so. It gave me all of the willies thinking about it in, out of context. Like in the movie context, this is perfectly fine because we know who this guy is. But, or at least, we're kind of getting an idea of who this guy is. But,
well, I mean, let's consider the culture this guy comes from, right, Centauri?
yeah.
These guys, the Star League, it makes me laugh because Star League is name Star League also comes up a lot in BattleTech, which I've learned about recently, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, the Star League, this giant conglomeration of planets, has a armed force of like 10 people.
Yeah, 10 people
And
to
their
defend
motto-
their frontier.
And their motto that they yell at the drop of a hat, and I know this because you guys were texting this all week long, is victory or death.
And they say it with enthusiasm.
Of an armed force of 10 people. But BJ, those people have the gift.
The gift.
The gift.
Have these people not heard of, like, I don't know, like some sort of like training program?
I imagine...
No, they're looking for people that are born with talent,
but
not necessarily develop it.
But BJ, you have to understand, this is part of the fantasy, right? Jeff had it pinned exactly, right? That this is a fantasy that young men would have, that
Being
they would
chosen.
be chosen because of something that seems mundane, the playing of a video game.
It's like
and that
I
they
get
would...
that part. I get that part. But the thing that made me shake my head and laugh was, oh, these are great Starfire Legion, and me, my title is ambassador, even though I'm like very obviously in charge of this military operation. Me and all these folks who sit, quote unquote, safely back here at base yell victory or death at the drop of a hat.
Well,
and it does freak out Alex with a little bit.
yes.
Yeah.
So Alex gets in the car and goes to this strange alien planet, and then they yell victory or death, and it freaks him out. You're right, and he wants to go home.
And I guess we are on the subject of kind of of trying to poke like logical holes. I mean, to be fair, we did this with Star Trek last time, so we're gonna do this with Last Starfighter too, I guess. They
Mhm.
have this little chip, right? That acts like a universal translator.
Yeah.
Why didn't they give that to him at the very beginning?
So that they could say
He
breathe
spends
hi
like a
to
half
him
hour
or
wandering through
whatever
the
other
space saying,
words
what's
are.
everyone saying?
Can I just say, this language they speak, it's full of all these weird sounds. Like they go, "Puk, puk, puk, puk," and they do these funny things. They don't just kind of like say a bunch of made up words. I liked it. I thought it was clever. And also this planet, what's amazing about it is that it's like the sense of fairness is so much better because not only are all the men bald, but all the women too. Like hair
So-
loss is equal amongst gender here
As-
on this planet.
As I was
What a concept.
as I was watching this, my son
Again, I sense a
was
little bit of
with me.
bitterness from Jeff here.
He was saying, "What? Why does that lady look so different? Why does she look weird?" And I'm like, "Wesley, it's a movie. She's an alien. It's a costume." And he's like, where did her hair go?" I'm like, it's just makeup. It's just makeup and prosthetics. They just put weird stuff on her to make her look like an alien." Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so aliens are kidnapping people.
Well, it's like
Oh.
a talent scout.
Yeah.
He's out there. He's recruiting, and he's
Oh,
recruiting a little deceptively.
They established the fact that what Centauri is doing is at least somewhat illegal.
Yes.
I wonder if you guys caught this, and I'm wondering if there's other implications for it, because they say, they ask Centauri if he's doing that old Excalibur routine again.
Yeah, I got that.
Is
they
that
don't really explain what that is.
but is that
Well.
Arthurian that they're referring
Yeah.
to?
Well,
Arthurian legend that they're referring to, or
Well,
what?
I mean, if we want to push our glasses up and say, well, actually, then Excalibur and the Sword and the Stone were two different swords. But yes,
I mean, but
Wait, you're saying the
'Cause-
sword and the stone is not Excalibur?
no,
yeah.
it's not. It's they are two different swords. The Excalibur was from the lady.
Lady in the Lake. Yeah,
Sword in the Stone is different.
You know what?
we just blew
That's
Jeff's mind.
Right. What is happening right now? Okay, I guess that is true. He did get it from the lady in the lake. I always figured there were just different versions of King Arthur. In one version, there's a sword in the stone. The other version, they get it from a lake.
No.
But no, you're saying that, no, there's just as many swords as we need. Why not? There's
Yeah.
just a sword here, a sword there,
Sword here,
And
sword
there.
everywhere.
Apparently, according to this movie, the lady was actually
Inside, all kinds of fun stuff in Arthurian.
Centauri wandering around pretending to be a lady giving swords to people so that they could then go and be
Oh, I
starfighters.
mean, they probably meant
He-
the sword and the stone, I bet. But anyway.
But this is kind of a sword in the stone, except it's a video game. Whoever can beat the video game is the chosen one, which is kind of like an Excalibur type situation. Not
Test.
Excalibur, whatever, the sword, the generic sword situation in the stone.
The sword and the stone,
situation.
TM.
So
Yeah.
So Alex goes home and he finds out that he's actually already home. I kind of glossed over this, or we kind of didn't cover this one as from before. But what happened to poor Alex?
Well, that's because, truth be told, I was trying my hardest to kind of derail us from this scene-by-scene thing, because me and Jeff had toyed with this in the past, and it ends poorly. It
Okay,
ends in extremely long podcasts.
okay, but I was just saying, there's a guy, there's already somebody there, isn't there?
Yeah, they get a replacement for him on Earth while he's off doing his Starfighter business. And it's part of the real comedy of the show, is to
Yeah,
get a
the
replacement that
comedy.
messes up his life.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as you might have seen coming, this is another one of my nitpicks, is that they go back to this a little too often, I feel. But again, we know how it is well established how I feel about awkward humor, and the stuff with the beta unit is generally
for
awkward.
BJ, awkwardness is no laughing matter. There's nothing funny about awkwardness.
I do. The beta
Everyone
unit
needs a pamphlet about it.
has the beta unit has my favorite joke in the entire thing. No, BJ, I'm gonna say this one, and then I'm just gonna see if this particular joke landed with you. So at one point, the beta unit, he's kind of like an artificial entity, like he's robotic in ways, and so at some point his audio receptors are malfunctioning, so he has to go fix them, right? And then he finds it easier to fix them if he takes his head off, right? So that his body can get a better leverage on what's going on. And the kid notices and then says, "What's going on? Why is your head off?" And he's like, "Hey, you're having a bad dream. Just go back to bed." And the kid's like, "Oh, okay," and goes back to bed, but is secretly just kind of peeking out. And then the guy is back to fixing his head, but then he looks out the window and he sees this thing, obviously looks like kind of like a ship landing, but it's just a little dot. He can just kind of see it from very far away. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, he groans, and then he grabs his head, but his head's on the desk, but he groans, and he does this thing where he's like grabbing the bridge of his nose and kind of massaging it, and his other hand is just kind of shaking the head. And I thought, that was very funny to me, in my opinion.
That part was pretty good. Like that was a good visual comedy. I guess most of the quote unquote comedy I have a problem with is mostly between the not Alex and Maggie, the girlfriend.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of weird, awkward. I'm a quirky alien kind of humor, and it's not. It doesn't. She is
a very, very patient girlfriend, and she's very loyal. She's like the perfect girlfriend that they've made in this movie, and
well, they didn't want to.
She goes through a lot, and yet she still, in the end, wants to be with him. And they don't really show their relationship before this, but she's awfully, awfully loyal to him. I think that's part of the fantasy side of this. Not only is he a starfighter, but he also has true love in a sense. He has this girl that really likes him, and he really likes her. And he's not only able to become a starfighter, but he also gets the girl in the end. It's the classic hero wins all situation.
Well, and he goes through a lot to get to that, but I just kind of I'm trying to think of. No, I guess I agree with you that he does kind of get that. He does. So Jeff, you're always going on about the hero's journey. How many steps on the hero's journey did this particular hero have to take?
Okay, pause for a second.
What?
Hold on.
Are you looking it up?
I was going to say, Jeff is now looking up how many steps in the hero's journey.
Oh, BJ, you have to leave this in. You definitely have to leave this in.
Oh, no.
How many steps?
Sorry. No. I'm here. Sorry. There was a slight interruption. So, here I am. So, how many steps? I know the generic steps. He's called on a journey by a person that comes and calls him. He's called to action.
And he gets a summary.
5. I don't know. It's like, I'm trying to count it myself, so I have to go through it.
Well, yeah,
he's called on a journey. He goes on the journey. He meets other people who help him with the quest, and then he then goes, and there's not really like a downfall moment so much. His downfall is that he doesn't want to go, and he has. Oh, I guess the frontier gets destroyed.
Well, I think the downfall is that there's there's like the scene with Zur, and like after that he makes Centauri take him home. So He leaves.
Oh, okay,
He
I get
totally
you.
rejects the
Literally,
call. He
he's
goes
literally
back.
in the heavens, and he falls from the heavens back to Earth because he can't be brave enough. At least in that initial moment.
And he loses his mentor, which is very common. Like Gandalf is lost, Obi-Wan is lost, so losing your mentor is very common.
Centauri is
Um,
lost.
yeah, Centauri's lost, and so he does go through that loss of losing Centauri. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe the downfall is a little bit harder to point
Oh,
out, but in the end, he still comes back. He has to discover some sort of secret power or greater wisdom that then leads him to coming back and defeating the enemy. And that simply was that he starts to believe in himself. Throughout the movie, he's saying, I'm just a kid from a trailer park. I'm just not a starfighter. I'm not some big galactic hero. And his friend, his navigator, keeps trying bit by bit. He's really good. His navigator's really good at slowly getting him to transition to becoming what he can be. And he eventually accepts that he will do it. He will take on danger. He will uh, do whatever it takes to make the galaxy a better place. And when he finally commits to being a starfighter, that's where he gains his better power, and he goes on to fight the bad guys. Yeah, so that's the hero's journey right there.
So he takes a lot
Nice
of,
hero's journey sandwich.
he takes several steps on this hero's journey. And so there's a betrayal at one point in the story, isn't there?
Yeah, the bad guy gets betrayed.
Well, no, but
There's that, but the bad...
the bad guy's got like this. It's kind of interesting. I didn't quite catch this when I was watched as a kid. I just kind of didn't quite understand what was going on. But now as an adult, I'm kind of like, wow, this guy actually had a pretty good plan.
No, they do during
Which
the
guy are we talking about?
Zur.
That has... Oh, Zur?
Yeah,
Oh, the bad
'cause
guy? Yeah.
They do mention like when he pipes. It sounds weird to say it. He pipes his head in to talk to his estranged father. They do mention that like this dude had like a cult or something. Like the cult has been broken and scattered, but apparently at least one cult member was in Starfighter Command or
Yeah.
whatever it's
He was
called.
in the command center as a technician or something.
No, it was
Yeah.
it was the Bursar. I don't know if you caught that, Jeff.
No, I did not. Who's the bursar?
So he's the guy who's arguing with Centauri about money, right? So him and Centauri are arguing about money and pay and how much and whatnot. And so
No, I did not catch that. Okay.
he's the one, and he's probably also the one who knows that that there is at least one more starfighter and where that starfighter is from. Hence why Zur is able to get people on, onto Alex's location as fast as he is, right? He's able to do that because this Bursar probably lived through that particular experience and then sent him information about it saying, hey, this guy's still alive. There's at least one more left.
I think he probably would have sent that before Starfire Command got destroyed, because Zur thought that Alex was back on Earth. He didn't know that he had come back and that there was the Last Starfighter. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. TM. Yes.
Yeah.
All
Well,
rights
the
reserved.
Frontier has all these starfighter pilots, but they get wiped
All
out
10 of
because
them.
of it. All 10
All
of
10
them.
of them.
All
At this
10.
base,
From an
base,
insider
DJ,
threat, basically. And that's what all of this comes down to, is that they do have an enemy, but that enemy becomes much more powerful and dangerous because people from the peaceful community, from the good guys, they defect to the bad guys, and that really costs them. The prince, or the son of the main leader, he goes off and has this cult following, as we talked about, but he betrays them, and that really, really endangers the Frontier. whatever you call them. Are they called the Frontier? Frontier's more of a place.
No, the
Well,
frontier is like an energy shield, but
yeah,
the
the big energy shield is called the Frontier.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the main. Well, BJ, if you had this giant energy shield around your entire empire, you probably wouldn't need a very large standing army, right? A lot of resources would go into just maintaining that thing because obviously nobody can get through it. At least that's what's implied in the movie, right?
Well, I mean, you would think you'd want like some kind of peacekeeping force
A handful of
for
dudes to
the
patrol it, which is what they imply in the video game. You know, people have to patrol the frontier.
well, except when they take Alex up, they refer to him. They tell him, "Okay, go ahead and join the other recruits."
Yeah. So, and that is a question. How many more are there? But they imply that they're all dead now. So,
So they have this big command staff, like this
and no
entire
army.
like big like base plastered on the side of a planet, Star Wars style, and apparently it was in this, and they're like making prototypes, like new versions of these gun stars or whatever. But apparently we only have like 10 of these dudes. But anyway, that's a nitpick I've gone over before.
It's a
Don't need to go
hard
back.
video game. Not very many people can beat it. The recruiting system is slow. And also there's only one recruiter that's using that. So I don't know.
I don't know how the other people were recruited though. It's implied
They
that
don't really say, yeah.
he's recruited by the video game. I don't know how they are recruited. I guess maybe
So,
those
and
other planets have like a tournament of some sort. I don't know.
well, they, and again, I don't know if Grig, the navigator, says this or if it was Centauri, and it was just Centauri trying to razzle dazzle Alex. But they did say that the like everyone in the galaxy dreams of being picked to be a starfighter, but so few people have the gift, and blah blah blah. How blah blah blah, and how can you turn your back when blah 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 yada yada. And so again, I can't remember if it was Grig that said that or if that was Centauri,
No,
because
that's a very
Centauri is
Centauri thing to say.
okay. Yeah.
Um, obviously he's played by Robert Preston, who good gosh, that
Yeah.
guy's a character. He definitely is this like the tail end of his career? Because I remember seeing him
Yes.
in other movies. Obviously when he was
He's-
younger, and he's done quite a. He's very prolific actor.
Yeah, and our generation probably doesn't know him as well, but I know he was in The Music Man, which is an old movie and also a Broadway play. When they made it to a movie, he was the star of that. And he's been in other things. Yeah. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and he definitely plays a very. It seems like he's spent. He knows the culture of Earth very well. At least that's kind of the impression I'm getting. And occasionally he'll let slip a few things from his. Like he was talking about brave people throughout history, and then he talked about one who's obviously an alien, and poor Alex was like, I don't know who that last guy is. He's like, regardless.
Well, and so really the main character, Alex, he becomes like a superstar. And as a superstar, he has his girlfriend with him, which is great. He also has his navigator with him. And then he also has almost like an agent, like a talent agent, which is Centauri, who is helping him with his career. Not only did he recruit him, but he gives him wisdom and he gives him advice. And at the very end of the movie, Centauri is helping him know the path forward of what to do. So as far as like being the pinnacle of 80s fantasy movies where you play a video game and it leads to this whole new chapter of your life where you get to be a hero in a faraway universe. Well, not faraway universe, in a faraway planet and helping many planets around space. It's just things work out perfectly. He gets all of these great friends and opportunities. And I think a lot of successful movies have that kind of fantasy element where people want they start off as a nobody and they become great and they do something important and special. I mean, Star Wars has that. Harry Potter has that, where you're just it's not just the hero's journey. It's about becoming something great and powerful. I think the audience loves that kind of stuff. They love the underdog becoming the hero.
Um, Something I was thinking of while watching this one currently was Star Fox. How much do you think this movie influenced? Like, there's some things or influences that this movie had on other movies or other pieces
Does
of
Star
media.
Fox really have a story?
Star Fox kind of has a story where you're a small elite unit fighting against, obviously a whole entire
I
alien
mean,
invasion, right? Kind of seems very similar in this particular concept. I mean, it's
well,
very
I
broad
mean,
strokes, but
I was gonna
still.
say, to be fair, a small crack unit taking on and prevailing over long odds is not exactly a unique story.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously, but um, I was just like, I kind of was wondering if there was any influence from this movie on Star Fox. There was another one that had me questioning because recently I watched the movie Iron Man 2, and in that one, the battle in the end battle in Iron Man 2, parts of it played out similar to this in my opinion. Now hear me out, because in Iron Man 2, there's a scene where Iron Man and War Machine are in the garden. There's this weird little kind of garden that they are it's in the
You talk
middle.
about the part where they fight all the drones, and Iron Man has the one shot laser.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He has this one shot
The
laser that he has
Yeah,
to
to kind
wait
of cut to the
for.
chase.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that he has this one shot laser that he has to get everybody in, and then Rhodey's like, "Why didn't you lead with that?" It's like, "Oh, I only got one shot with this one," and Rhodey's like, "Oh, okay." So I'm just thinking because there's this element because his Gunstar is a prototype and it's got like a prototype weapon. Alex's the Alex Rogan's Gunstar when he goes out and flies it around and shoots all the bad guys. It's got this prototype weapon system called Death Blossom that's not on any of the other Gunstars, and it's a one shot weapon system that has a very specific range, but if anything that is within that range is probably going to die because it shoots all the lasers, missiles, and whatever. So I'm just
So,
wondering if that's like because that's a
I,
very specific like thing, and the people who made Iron Man 2 probably would have been kids when this movie was out, so maybe there's some
I mean,
influence there.
I can't say one way or the other, but uh, that's a good scene, all that, but a bit minor nitpick, if I may.
Oh, go for it, go for it.
So, prior to firing off the Death Blossom, they're sitting there, they're trying to fight off all these enemy fighters, and then all of a sudden Alex like, Craig, I don't have any power to my weapons anymore. So they're just sitting there tanking shots. But then they hit this button, and then all of a sudden they have enough power to shoot all the guns.
Well, I imagine a lot of power had gotten diverted to the particular capacitors designated for Death Blossom. So this is probably why he ran out of power for his regular weapon systems when he did. Because it had all been diverted to the Death Blossom
If that is the case, could
capacitors.
not they have said that?
They didn't. I mean, this is a legitimate criticism because I was wondering. I kind of wondered that too, and I had to make up that in my head because they never said that's what was going on.
Yeah.
So,
Now, so a lot of video games in the 80s, they have this very similar theme where you're in a spaceship in the video game, you're shooting lasers in front of you, so you have to move around, target your targets, shoot the lasers, hit the targets, but then once in a while when things get really bad, there's usually some sort of super weapon where you would push the special button and you would launch a huge bomb or a whole bunch of lasers at once, or other uh other spaceships would come in and help you, or it's some sort of super attack. And I almost think that this movie was patterned a little bit after video games of the time period, where you would have this kind of uh, major attack, but you have to reserve it for a special moment because it's either you have a limited number, or like in this case, you can only do it once.
Well,
That's what it all reminds me of.
well, to be fair, we can sit here and speculate over what inspired what, but the answer is we don't know the answer.
Yeah, that is true. We don't.
But speculation is fun.
Speculation is
It's
fun,
fun.
but it
You know
also
what?
leads to a half-hour conversation that leads nowhere.
You know
No
what?
offense to you guys. If you guys want to go off, I will.
You know what was interesting when I was looking up research on this one? Kind of just a side thing, but Jeff, this is more interesting to you. Apparently, there's
I'll be the
a
judge of
small bit part extra in this one. Will Wheaton.
Really?
Yes.
He's in this movie?
He's in this movie. I don't know if he's actually... how much screen time he actually gets. And if he hadn't been famous later in life, he probably wouldn't have even been mentioned in the cast. But he is...
Yeah.
So there's... little,
he's there. He is. I just found him.
yeah.
Lewis's friend.
Yeah, there's not a lot... Like, you barely see Lewis in the movie, much less his friend.
Oh,
So-
wait. Wait, I'm looking at
His little brother's friend. That's Will Wheaton.
Wait. I'm looking at the cast list, and this reminds me of a question I had when I was looking at the credits.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not crazy. So, in the
We all believe
credits,
that, BJ.
they have Cheerleader 2. There's no Cheerleader 1.
Dun, dun,
Oh, wait,
dun.
never mind. There it is. Wait. Cheerleader 1 is uncredited. The Cheerleader 2 is credited.
BJ, you are the best auditor of all auditors. I think it's good. Yes, you make sure.
I
that
don't
things
even
are
know
going-
why it caught my eye. I was sitting there like writing notes or whatever. I'd look up and it's like Cheerleader 2. I'm like, wait, I don't remember any cheerleaders. Wait a second. I didn't see credit for Cheerleader 1. So I'm sitting here looking at IMDb. Cheerleader 1 was uncredited. Cheerleader 2 credited as Cheerleader 2.
I think
Amazing.
I think the cheerleaders were the ladies in the pickup truck when all the friends were going off to whatever lake.
Maybe, I guess.
Maybe
But
that's what makes sense
They
to
weren't dressed
me.
like cheerleaders.
Well,
Where was there a cheerleader?
I mean,
I
they're
don't-
kind of stereotypically cheerleaders, I guess.
yeah, it's like just some. I would classify them more as like irresponsible teenagers, but
Bimbos.
bimbos. No, just the whole truck is full of people who I would
Bimbos.
classify as himbos and bimbos and people who were not really looking ahead in life. They just wanted to enjoy the moment. Admittedly, probably last summer before college, just got out of high school. They just want to enjoy things for a minute and then
A
they'll
stereotypical group of bad friends from an 80s movie.
yeah.
There's another guy in here from Star Trek. There's his name is, and I'm being slow because I'm trying to get to where it because I can't remember. Okay, Mark Almanio. He plays Gul Dukat, which is a Cardassian guy. He's the hitchhiker in this.
Huh.
He's the guy who was there to kill the Starfighter. Yeah. So it's kind of
Out
fun
there
scene. He
playing
doesn't
bad guy
actually get
aliens
much-
at the very beginning.
but they get a mask on him really quickly, so you hardly get a chance to see him. But I guess it's fitting
Well,
because
I mean,
in Star
too-
Trek he always has a mask on as
Yeah,
well.
I was going to say, to be fair, I don't know if I would recognize him like without the Cardassian makeup on anyway.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I do because, of course, but I watch way too much Star Trek. But
Okay.
yeah, anyway,
Anyway,
just a thing. Just a thing.
we seem to be tanging pretty hard at
Yeah.
this point, lads. Does
Yeah.
Well,
anyone else
tangents are
have anything to
strong.
say about this
That's-
movie?
That one thing I will say, definitely in the positive about this movie, is that it does not overstay its welcome. It gets what it wants to say done. It says what it wants to say, and then it's done, and it doesn't like kind of like make things. BJ, you're right about some of the. You probably could have cut out all of the beta part units, and you still would have had a decent movie. Probably, but it would have probably trimmed the movie down to like less than an hour or so. I don't know. They probably had to. Fill
Well,
a lot of time.
you needed some comedy in it. So I think that you're better off leaving the comedy in, even
I mean,
if you.
I think between
Like-
Grig and Centauri, there's enough comedy in there.
But
I guess you had to do. I guess you had to do. I guess you had to have parts on Earth to give. I guess to give Maggie
give
and Lewis
people on
something to do.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you cut all that out, that means it cuts them out of the story, and I think that takes a little bit away from the end, because when he comes back to get his girlfriend and he meets all of the community again, I think at that point you have a better sense of how they're part of the story. The community is surrounding him. He comes from a very good place with a lot of people that like him and support him, even though they give him chores all the time to do.
I was gonna
He
say
has a big
it's-
family.
I was gonna say I mean, we talk about how he has to go back to. He has to go back to give a couple characters screen time. You know, let's not really pretend that like the community at large had a lot of screen time, like outside of like his mom and Otis.
that is definitely true. I did one thing. Maybe I probably should go a little bit more over is I did like Grig, his kind of weird practical, and this odd sound that he would make every so often, like kind of weird sound. Wesley very much appreciated that sound. It was kind of weird and silly. But
I do think the aliens in this are more on the goofy side.
yeah,
All of them. Centauri's a little goofy, everything, which is actually one of the charms of this movie, is that it never really gets overly serious. It's always a little playful.
yeah, it never takes itself seriously or too seriously at any point. Even during the
Too
victory,
seriously.
even during the victory or death portion, when they're all chanting that, the guy's like, "Where am I at?" And then it's kind of like brings everything back.
I think some of the bad guys might try to take it a little more seriously.
Though that is one of my best, my favorite lines is right at the end. The bad guys, when one of the bad guys is like, "What are we gonna do?" And then the other one turns to him and says, "We die." It's kind of like a, wow, that's a,
Yeah.
I do want an eyepiece that clicks dramatically in place to.
Just for delivering lines.
just to deliver that line.
Any line becomes more dramatic because you flip the eyepiece down first. We're going to go to the supermarket and get eggs.
Is the weird, and get
We're at eggs. What are we gonna do? Go to Target.
store.
Not sponsored, by the way. But
Anyways, yeah, no, it's they delivered those lines just like almost perfectly in my opinion.
the guy that plays like the trader, is that Zur?
Yeah, yeah.
He's just there chewing on all the scenery.
Oh yeah, he definitely has the biggest mouth to chew every piece of scenery that there is, and he just hams it all. It's like, I am
He's
the person who...
Okay, yeah. So he's basically the son that betrayed everyone.
Yeah.
And ironically, he gets thrown away by the bad guys that he defected to.
Oh, who could have seen that one
who could-
coming?
Though in the end he does live, so
He does?
sequel, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
He got blown up on
weasels
the
out and-
spaceship.
He weasels
Yeah,
out and
no,
takes an
he-
escape pod.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's one of the reasons why they try to get Alex to stay at the end, is because Zer's still out there, so we need Zer's out there, so please stay and help us rebuild the Starfighter Legion or whatever. First time
Since
they refer to it as a legion, by the
his
way.
third day on the job, and he's
And-
tasked with rebuilding the Legion.
And
A Starfighter legion of these 5 dudes over here.
And this fleet didn't come from nowhere. There was like an entire empire on the other side of this energy barrier that has all kinds of... This was just one of many fleets, probably.
So, like...
So lots of job security.
They call it like, oh no, it's the... I forget what the bad guy aliens are called, but oh no, here comes the Armada. And the Armada is like... The Armada is like an aircraft carrier.
One aircraft
It's a
carrier
ship.
and a few dozen
With fighters.
Yeah.
Well,
Though
then
And
again,
being
I guess
the
these-
last
then
Starfighter,
again,
he definitely has
I guess
his
these
work
are the
cut
same
out for him.
people who... I think I kind of joked about this about 5 seconds ago. Oh no, they wiped out the entire Starfighter legion of these 10 guys over there.
Well, BJ, but when you think about it, how much power, if you own the orbit, right? If you have control of the space, right? A lot gets said about having air power over a battlefield, and probably equally so when we get to that point in warfare, we're going to be talking about space power, or specifically the who owns the space above a planet, right? In a military sense. So if you own the space above a planet, you can do all kinds of stuff. These people their main ship came equipped with was that a meteor cannon? Basically, you could throw giant rocks at the surface of a planet. It'd be real easy to conquer a planet with just like a few ships if your enemy had no ships.
Oh,
right?
Except the case of the meteor gun, they did have to sabotage the Star Command defenses in order to actually have the meteors hit.
Yeah.
I was
They had to
laughing
have
while I was
a
watching this
traitor
movie.
on the inside to make it work.
Yeah,
I was
but
laughing while I was watching this movie. I was all like, well, I guess along with getting someone to play The Last Starfighter, I guess they should have got someone to get someone who played like a lot of asteroids or something too.
Probably.
They need somebody great at asteroids to go along with the
Who
Starfighter.
here has the high score at
recruit.
Missile Command? Anybody?
Not me. I played that one recently, and it keeps blowing me away. But
Well, I think it's plausible,
I guess you don't have
though.
the gift, do you, Gary?
no, I don't have the gift.
Now, I do think it's actually plausible. We laugh, but the idea of just like a one squadron of starfighter pilots against entire legions of spacecraft, as silly as that might be, it comes down to like what their technology is.
Well, like,
Because if they had
But
super
again, in this
technology in those
case-
fighters, like if you think of like a modern jet fighter versus like a squadron of aircraft from the 1940s.
okay,
Like-
like in the case of the movie, say that all the starfighters had lived, like
Then they would have cleaned
they would have been
house.
outnumbered by like what, 2-1 maybe?
I mean, one starfighter managed to wipe the plate with these guys. So
Yes.
I imagine.
Well,
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
they mentioned that they're fighting.
Say
and the
that.
odds are against them.
Say that all 10 starfighters had lived, and they go up against, and this enemy armada, wah, and the enemy armada is like one command ship, and it's 20 fighters.
I mean, it was a good plan, though, is what I'm saying. Is Zur had a pretty good plan there. Is hit the base with the starfighters in it before they can launch, and then he's the one. He not only was he
Yes,
the one who knew
that-
how to get through the energy barrier, but he also was the one who had a person on the inside to sabotage it. So
That part I get. The thing I don't get is like Starkman's like, oh no, this enemy armada, this massive armada. It's like, guys, you practically have the same number of ships.
and I mean,
By the
we
way, I
talked-
did enjoy this movie. I just,
Yeah, it's
You just can't handle
I'm-
the
I'm-
premise behind it. 'Cause
I'm
it's
being,
like, no way.
I'm being the
no
devil's
way.
advocate, I guess.
yeah, but you, I could probably go into it in forever, and I don't. In all honesty, I don't want to make this podcast longer than the runtime of the movie.
So I'm going to defeat my own point. It's all part of the power of fantasy.
it is part of the power fantasy.
It doesn't defeat your point, but it just doesn't battle it and accepts
or
it.
you could also look into the economics of it. How expensive is it to put stuff into orbit? And I imagine even with technology, it doesn't get any cheaper. So probably
Okay,
having
can I just...
having
I
a
want a counterpoint, though.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Go
sit
ahead.
down.
No, you, Gary. I interrupted you.
no,
Go
no,
ahead,
no.
Gary.
I was gonna say, like, it's probably very expensive to put even a fighter squadron into orbit. So putting this carrier and this a couple of dozen ships into space is probably very expensive. And then so I mean, calling it an armada, gosh, that thing probably would have pasted Earth at the time, even Earth now. We probably would
what
have
I
seen
wanna
this thing
say-
fly in and be like, "Oh shoot, we've got nothing. We surrender because we can't fight something that big in space."
Okay, so
We're
original-
also not a giant intergalactic collection of planets.
That is true, BJ. That is true.
Okay, so what I want to also point out is that the original battlefield was looking like you'd have one squad of starfighters in these gun stars, as they're called, against all the bad guys. Okay, maybe it's more like 2-1, but keep in mind, the bad guys had a plan. Maybe they were outmatched at first, and that's why the good guys weren't as sweating bullets as much. But as the plan played out, they were able to destroy the defenses. At least, almost. It didn't fully work. There was one starfighter that got through. So in the end, it could be that these starfighters are in fact way more advanced, and they have this really great method of finding the most talented people to crew them. And so maybe they did. Maybe it is plausible that one starfighter could take them all on if they were skilled enough. It's not like a perfect match. They would need a little skill and a little strategy still, but their starfighter was so amazing. It had like this major, what is it called? Like laser
Death
plume.
Blossom.
Death Blossom. Yes, even better. Death Blossom. It has a Death Blossom. It has all
I don't
this
know.
fun
I kind of
stuff.
like the name Laser Plume.
No, Death Blossom's better. It's more pretty. It's a blossom. It's a beautiful little blossom of death.
So
Anyway.
no.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm going to say that the writers did all right-ish. If we could fill in the blanks that they didn't describe with some amount of logic, I say it's doable. It's believable.
This movie definitely fits into the popcorn, turn off your brain, eat some popcorn kind of movie. It fits perfectly into that particular category of movie.
And listen to the music. Did you guys like the music?
Oh, I loved the music. It was very 80s, very bombastic. Fits very well with 80s science fiction.
I didn't really notice it, but I guess it's also a sign of a good soundtrack that it doesn't
completely catch your attention, but it sounds good. It adds to the scene.
Yeah, a good soundtrack doesn't a good soundtrack you don't hear. A bad soundtrack takes you out of the movie, and an awesome soundtrack enhances the movie in ways that you can definitely tell that the soundtrack is enhancing the movie. So this one I think is a solid, good soundtrack. You're right. Almost wondering.
I did.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was almost wondering who did this because it sounded very much like a lot of the Star Trek kind of things, but I was wondering if it was the same person. But I should have done more research on that particular one.
Craig Sefton?
I have not heard of him.
Yeah, Jeff.
He didn't do the music for Star Trek, but he did music for Cheers.
For Cheers? No wonder it was so good. Where everybody... Anyway, I can't sing it because I don't know copyright laws, but probably I can't sing it. But
I had to bring up Cheers there
good
because
song,
I knew
good
that
song.
it would make Jeff excited.
Yeah. So yeah, I like this movie. It's a good one.
Yeah, I did a very bad job of trying to get us to stop like 20 minutes ago, I guess. I should have stopped being pedantic.
It's all right. We're not going over runtime of the movie, so as long as we don't do that, I think we've done our job.
Oh no, we would still have to go for another half hour to go over the runtime of the movie.
Yeah. So if we manage to wrap things
You're saying
up,
we have to talk for another half hour?
no, Jeff, no,
Oh.
no, just no.
I mean, it depends. If you want to match what we did with Star Trek, I think with Star Trek we did like twice the sizes of the episode we watched. So, I mean, if you want to do that, we have to go for another 2 hours.
Yeah, but that was a loaded episode. So
It was really loaded. And I don't think I made the point
there's-
I was wanting to make in that episode.
I was
Even though I made many points, I think
Yeah,
I never quite articulated it.
no. There's many times I go back through and I'm doing all the audio stuff. I think of all these great arguments I could have made, which occurred to me then, but didn't occur to me like the week before.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that's one of the good things about us doing this is that we're learning from all our blunders, which includes like when we're in a discussion and then I listen to that discussion later. I'm like, oh, why didn't I just say that? And, yeah.
Like earlier
it's
in this
very true.
podcast, I was trying really hard not to laugh because we were talking about how, oh, blah, 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 Star League this and Star League that. I was going to make the joke of, yeah, but Gary's over wondering, so what are couch potatoes in the Star League doing?
Well, I imagine
Because that was like a half-hour conversation we had about Star Trek.
no, but in Star League, it doesn't really imply what kind of society that they have. So there is that.
A bald one. Everybody's
Very
bald. It's
society.
a bald
and
society.
Jeff is on board with that.
Finally.
A bald society. And you can tell
Nobody
they're
gets
bald.
hair.
No. Jeff,
Finally.
they
You
get-
don't get it. I don't get it.
No.
Nobody gets it.
Jeff,
here we
everybody
are, so
has hair around the sides of their head, but nobody has it on top, so you can tell that they're bald.
Are we...
Wouldn't you not want to be like the one guy that was also missing hair from like the side of your head?
Are we
Like that would basically be ironically what would probably happen.
Would people look at him
Okay,
awkwardly,
so
Jeff?
I'm...
Are you
Yeah.
implying that people
Are
would be
we-
like kind of awkwardly looking at him, being like, "Why? I feel sorry for you because you're losing." Anyways, sorry.
As the guy who is one of his stated goals in this podcast is be nicer, Jeff, maybe we should move away from the subject where it seems like we're dunking on Jeff's hairline?
I'm just
My hairline's flawless. It's not changing at all. It certainly doesn't earn me a
Anyway,
membership as part of this.
anyways. Back
Anyway.
into kind of wrapping things up territory.
in conclusion,
In conclusion,
In
BJ,
conclusion, yeah.
what's your final thoughts on the movie then?
it's a movie, all right. Despite how much I was over here dunking on it, I did enjoy it. You have to turn your brain off for it, obviously.
Mhm.
We will I will say in upcoming movies that I picked, there is going to be much room for nitpicking.
Bring it on. I'm not afraid of nitpicking.
Yeah, I wanted to make a safe choice when I chose this movie, so I went with that.
I will say it won't be next episode. It will be the episode after that. But coming up is one of the movies I was thinking about, which might be a movie that I like that Jeff doesn't. So we'll have to see about that.
Yay! Hooray!
And coming up in a few episodes. So to kind of make everyone excited, we do have a very, very special episode coming up next time.
Yes.
One
We'll
that's-
leave it for speculation. But
One that has been in the making for quite some time. It's gonna be something.
definitely will be some.
It's gonna be something.
It's sure gonna be
So-
an episode.
One of the episodes of all time, BJ. Definitely
Yeah.
one of the episodes.
Definitely
Jeff.
one of our episodes.
Jeff, what's your thoughts on the movie wrapping things up?
Well, would you guys indulge me in a 1-minute correction from our last episode? Or is that asking too much?
I could
Alexa,
hit a stopwatch, Jeff.
for 1 minute.
Oh yeah,
Go.
I'm setting a
one
timer.
minute.
I'm
Okay.
setting a timer for 1 minute. Go.
It's
Okay,
already started.
okay.
Go.
The one thing I messed up on our last recording of the Star Trek episode was that the main point was that the utopia was created based upon that people let go of their wants instead of canceling them out. Like instead of just being like the Borg where you don't have them, or being so rich that everyone gets everything they want, which is you never get enough based on riches. There's it's never enough. Eventually they let go of them, and they let go of them because the Vulcans taught them that, because they met the Vulcans and space exploration proved to be more rewarding than just getting lots of junk to fill up their garages, and they were happier after that. And time.
Alexa, cancel a timer.
See, under a minute. Overachiever.
Okay.
Alexa,
Now,
stop.
Starfighters. Unless you guys have any other comments, I can say one thing about this movie.
Alexa, set a 1 minute timer.
Okay.
Alexa, cancel timer.
Yeah, it's good. I love it. I love the whole becoming a starfighter and saving the day. And it's not just that he becomes a hero. He becomes a hero that saves people. It's a positive message too. It's not just that he becomes the coolest guy ever. He becomes somebody who is there to save Earth and save planets, do service for everybody. And, he's a good guy. He helps people out. And you think that the good guy that helps people, that's a good brother, a good son, he tries to be good to his family, to his girlfriend. He's a good guy. And you would think that the good guy doesn't win. The good guy doesn't go to school. Nothing good happens. But this movie shows that it gives you hope. Like, you gotta go on, and perhaps there will be some destiny in which you can be something. You can go and be good, and it's this adventure story like that. Yeah. So it's a positive thing. I think it's a great movie, and it's filled with really good special effects. There's so many space battles with what must have been like 16-bit computers or something that they used for this graphics. It's quite interesting. Maybe even 8-bit. I don't even know. But
Just scaling
it's fun.
down
It's
his
fun.
expectations here. Sorry that
Yeah,
16
but the
went down to
graphics
8.
were good based upon what it was. And I'm out. There we go.
Yeah. So, yeah, Last Starfighter. BJ?
I pretty much said everything I wanted to say about it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the second or third time you asked me for closing comments. Anyway.
No,
Oh.
I'm just saying, lead us out.
Oh, okay. Fine. Do it yourself. I don't know. Sure. Okay. So, other closing comments until I start talking. Okay. So, that was us. I'm BJ. That was Jeff and Gary. We were talking about The Last Starfighter. And, thanks for joining us. This was kind of a weird episode. We kind of went all over the place. Guess we didn't really tangent on the last one, so we had to make up for it. But anyway, so we will see you next time. Again, very special episode.
Victory or death.
Victory or death!
Victory or death.
Says everyone in the rear echelon. Bye, folks.
Bye.